What is a Japanese company?
If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound.
Oh.
So the founders of the company are all foreigners. Because it's so international, we have people from different cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds. We still need to work. We can't just sit in the beanbags all day long, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah,
So
which is
sounds
very
like
cool.
fun place,
The
yeah.
most relaxed Japanese company in history.
Hey, podcast kittens, it's Cathy Cat.
And it's Ladybeard coming at you with another jaw-frizzling installment of
Cat with Beard.
Cat with Beard out of Dodge. We're in Osaka.
We're in Osaka. Osaka, how did you say it?
Osaka!
Whoa! We are really in the Kansai region of Japan. This is where the delicious food is made. This is where the people speak with an Osaka accent.
It's where the jokes get told.
And this is where we are currently located here with Tobi.
Tobi!
Hi, everyone.
Ooh.
Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Tobi from the Unpacking Japan Podcast. In case you don't know, we both featured on the Unpacking... I was at the Unpacking Japan. The Unpacking Japan Podcast.
In the future.
In the future.
In the future.
And now Tobi's here, future appearing on Cat with Beard. This is perfect.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks
Thank you
for
for having
having
us,
us.
bros.
We
It's
got
awesome.
the email. The email came to me first, I think. I got the email from one of your boys here.
The email
Julia.
came to me first. Oh, look at me. Cathy Cat.
Oh, yeah.
Who's
Oh,
the
my God.
superstar?
It's like, oh, my God.
I'm so
Who are
important.
you even? Who knows you even? Oh my gosh, like legit. It came to me like first, and oh my God, like I was like so happy about that. And then they were like, hey, do you know this guy called Ladybeard? And I'm like, yes, I do a podcast with him. And then legit, we made it over here.
We did. That's really saying we'll have a screen.
Was this your California accent that you were
This
talking
was
about?
the California accent
I
that
see.
didn't unfortunately come out at all when I was in the podcast. I was somehow very nervous.
Yeah.
Like surprisingly very nervous.
Like I am now.
Yeah.
It's like when the tables turn and you're not the interview anymore. It's not
You're
the...
You're
nervous,
on
you
the
can see it.
spotlight, literally, but it's your own spotlight, so this is your home
Yeah.
ground,
Yeah,
which
my
makes you
home
feel a little
ground.
bit less
Literally.
home
nervous.
turf.
Literally your spotlight.
Coming here, it's like really nice station, nice walk over here, nice
Great
coffee
studio.
places
This
coming
giant
here.
big old borderless behind us. This is amazing. Isn't it?
I chucked like a huge tub of pumpkin spice latte, and we came into this space, which you guys can't see, but it's so huge.
Yes,
that
lovely.
You don't really see
Yeah.
offices this big or like
No.
just resting spaces this big in Tokyo.
You don't in Tokyo. It's potentially Osaka real estate is a bit more liberally used. Yeah.
I think that's possible, but we are still in Honmachi, which is like downtown
Yeah.
business area of Osaka. So I actually have no idea what the rent of this place, but
It looks like a big old WeWork. Except styled.
the WeWork offices are not too far actually. from here.
Really?
Yeah. They're up the street there.
Oh, right.
So-
there you go. You caught that.
Let's talk about how you got to this not a WeWork office.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
think this episode is published right after the one we just recorded.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so for people who have not yet listened to part one, they can listen to part one where we
can.
finished on me basically getting a job here at Zen Group.
Yes,
Zen
by the
Group.
skin
Yeah.
of your teeth.
Made it here literally with like 3 weeks
Minutes to
left
spare.
on your visa.
Yeah.
That's a very, very tight one, but you made it. So you're
made
here
it.
now. The pandemic is at full roar. Roar. You made it here. Got a job last minute before actually having to leave. What happens next?
Yeah, that was December 2020. And I started working here in marketing, doing marketing for our subscription box service, Zen Pop, which you're familiar with.
I know
right?
Zen Pop.
Yeah.
I've literally on my YouTube channel, on the Cathy Cat channel, recently reviewed 3 of those stationery boxes.
awesome.
Which were a lot of fun to review, by the way. Thank you so much for those.
Well, thank you very much. We still do some really cool boxes now specialized on stationery. I used to have some food as well, ramen and snacks from Japan. So I worked in marketing for Zen Pop, which was one of the business units of the company, which back then was called Zen Market.
Yeah, I remember the days. I think I did a
Yeah.
collab with Zen Market too.
So
Got all pretty
it's
dressed
getting
out of that.
complicated already because now it's Zen Group is the corporation that is kind of the umbrella corporation of all these different business units that are operating out of these offices here.
It sounds Buddhist-y. Is
Zen?
it somehow Buddhist-y?
No.
Okay.
I think it was the name Zen. I actually don't know. I'd have to ask our CEOs, but I think it comes just from because it associates with Japan easily. And so the original company name Zen Market, you market like a marketplace, you do shopping, you buy things, and Zen association with Japan.
Okay.
All right. Is this a Japanese company or what is like the base of this? I'm curious.
So that's an interesting thing that we've discussed also with some guests on our Unpacking Japan podcast. What is a Japanese company, right? And
What
so
is the Japanese? Oh, we are about to go deep, my
this is
friend.
deep.
If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound.
Oh.
So founders of the company are all foreigners. 4 of them are friends from back in university from Ukraine and Russia, and but they founded the company in Japan. So it's incorporated here in Japan, and
it's a Japanese company.
It's a Japanese company, legally speaking.
But it doesn't follow the traditional Japanese kind of hierarchy system?
Correct. It's a very international environment here. We have, I think, over 30 nationalities working in the offices.
Really? Yeah. 30? Can you count them?
All right, let's try. We have,
bring it on.
I thought you said no.
Let's start with the English speakers. We have Australia, we have the US, we have Canada, we have the UK, and I think...
New Zealand.
It. We had a Kiwi before, but I don't think we have a Kiwi
put them
now.
on the list. New Zealand, cool.
Then we have from Spanish speaking, we have Chile, we have Spain. We used to have some Mexicans here, Argentinians and Uruguayans, but they're not here anymore, unfortunately. We have French people, we have people from Ukraine, Russia, people from Poland, people from Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Germany. Of course, a few Germans here as well. What else? We have Norway, Sweden. Do you really want the full list?
South Africa? You got any South Africans?
No, we don't.
Oh.
So
North Africans? You got any North Africans?
We have people from Egypt.
All right.
We have people from Syria.
Wow, Syria.
And what else do we have?
So as 100% a globalized company.
This is a very globalized company.
So I think we haven't really talked yet about what the company actually does.
No.
Yeah, maybe you should explain why it is so global and what do you guys actually do here?
So Zen Group is a e-commerce company, a cross-border e-commerce. So we focus on exporting products from Japan. And the goal of the company is to kind of increase the share of international trade and exports of Japan to the world. And the main way we do this is through our proxy service, which is Zen Market, the original name of the company, which started 10 years ago. And basically for all of you who are maybe looking for products from Japan and want to buy from Japanese websites but struggle because you don't have a address in Japan, you don't have a phone number, you don't have a bank account here, and the websites don't let you buy, you can do it through Zen Market.
And then that's in different languages.
Exactly. So this service is offered in 19 different languages.
Well, that's why you need people from all the places with all the languages. So it pretty much, the way I think it's like a shopping service.
Yeah, basically, right? It's like a proxy shopping service for Japan. And then from there, other kind of business units started offering different kind of shopping services and different shopping experiences from Japan, such as Zenpop with a subscription box where we will curate the products for you, right? So instead of you having to go through a store and I want something from Japan, but I don't know what, we will put together a selection of unique products that we find and ship it to you on a monthly basis.
Wow.
That was a subscription box.
I mean, I know we asked you, but this is the marketing pitch we're getting here right now. This is the marketing pitch. It's a good marketing pitch.
It would be hard to come up with new things to send people from Japan month after month.
Well, luckily, we have a very awesome purchasing team.
Okay.
And they are always able to source and find really unique, really cool products, and also to work with the suppliers to collect them. Good.
One of the boxes that I got 3 because I wanted to review 3. One was like a mono box, one was Harajuku themed, then one was the bizarre box. And I'm like, what's in the bizarre box? I'm so glad I opened that one last because literally there's everything from an old guy and his cat as like little post-it notes it was stickers, to a hamster that if you roll him over the table, it will eat your eraser buds. Yeah, I'm not even joking.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
really?
and that was just gold that your team found there. It was just like, first, what is this? And I had to look at the instruction. Has a little brush inside, and you roll it over the table, and we'll.
A brilliant idea. What do you do about your eraser buds? Good point. I wish you just shake them off on the carpet, and that's someone else's problem.
Exactly. No, it's the hamster's problem. He'll sort it out.
That is amazing. I need
a hilarious.
I don't use an eraser.
I'm just curious, actually, like. Was that at the same time? Like, did the same people say, let's contact Cat with Beard and give you a Zen pop box? Or was it like, the box was good, let's go get the podcast?
Completely unrelated.
Really? Wow.
I did that job for a few years and then moved now to work in the creative agency of the company, Zen Studio, where we produce a podcast, Unpacking Japan. So we were looking to get you guys on Unpacking Japan.
Thank you.
But I was not involved with the Zenpop operations anymore. and they kind of contacted you. And when we finally got the okay that you guys are coming today, I started looking up and preparing questions, and I went to your YouTube channel and was like, wait, I know this box is right here on the desk next to mine.
That's how it happened.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I'm totally aiming to take one more home today. Would that be possible?
We'll have a look at what's in stock upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yes, get that box. I had a lot of fun. I love stationery, so I'm a bit addicted with
Japan
stationery.
is really good for that.
Oh yeah. I can never have too much
For
stationery.
all of you stationery fans, go check out the Zen Pop stationery box. You'll find
check out the
something you
Cathy
love.
Cat video about those boxes in case you're curious what hamster I'm talking about.
I don't know about your stationery obsession. Tell people about your obsession with stationery.
I guess I'm harajuku fashionista. We're all hoarders, but like for me, stationery, I have like those washi tapes. Those kind of they call it washi.
You have a drawer
tape.
full of washi tapes?
I have a drawer full of washi tapes. I do actually scrapbooking. That's like one of the hobbies I'm not putting online, but it's like tons and tons. There's always cute new design and there's a cute new and the stickers, and you want to have more stickers, and you just keep buying, and then they're actually affordable and they're so cute, and you cannot say no, and you end up with like drawers over drawers over drawers of stationery that are sitting behind you in your streaming room, and no one will ever know until this moment when you just found out about it.
Wow. My use of stationery is a notebook and a black pen.
Mine too.
You're missing
High
out.
five.
Hold on, you're supposed
We
to
are
promote
bad
this stuff.
Zen Pop customers.
That's what I'm going to say. You're supposed to promote that. All right, so...
The silence after that.
Whoops. So you are, like you just said, you're not part of the pop boxes anymore, of the monthly subscriptions. You're now in Zen Studio. What is Zen Studio?
So the company is growing, and we have a lot of departments, and we do a lot of marketing to promote different products, different shops that we collaborate with. And so we need to create a lot of media support for all of this. It can be banners, can be landing pages for advertisements, can be making a commercial, making social media content. So we started hiring, or the company started hiring videographers, photographers, designers. And once we started having a pretty sizable group, it had to be restructured into a proper creative agency, which is now Zen Studio. And as part of this, we produce a podcast.
So what else do you do when you're not doing the podcast?
The podcast is actually just a small part of my work. Basically, my role here right now is to coordinate with my team that we get all the production for all the shoots that we need to do done in time, and that the clients are happy, which for now are mostly internal. So basically planning and organizing social media content production, planning and organizing the shoot of a commercial. So we need to book a studio, we need to get models and so on, and do this for all the different marketing departments of the company and all the different language versions that require content to be produced.
I'm not sure if I'm understanding this right. So, for example, I want to sell this mug.
Yeah.
And I want to sell this mug from Japan to the world.
Yeah.
So I registered to your page, and I'm like, hey, can you make me a commercial? And then you make me a commercial. Is that right?
That's possible. That's
okay.
one of the things we can do.
All right, okay.
But you could also say, make me a social media campaign, and you can make us one of those.
Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
at Zen Studio, we will basically do the groundwork. So we will make the visuals, we'll make the content, and then we have another department that will take care of doing all the marketing. That's Zen Promo. So they will, if you want to work with influencers, for example, if you want to have ads running, they will do that part. But if you just want the content to be shot and the content to be filmed, and maybe some graphic design around it, we can do this at Zen Studio.
So how hard is it to work here? Like, oh my god, a lot of people listening right now are probably like, hey, I speak
I
language.
speak A language.
I would
Yeah.
like to work here. What's the
A
working
lot of
environment
Dutch
like?
speakers. I didn't hear Dutch on that list.
Well,
bunch of Dutch listeners in.
We actually have a Dutch guest coming next week.
Oh, right.
Hey.
There we go. Yeah, it's very international. So we are not a traditional Japanese company. We use both English and Japanese at work. We don't have like one language that everything has to be in this language. It's more like by department. So at Zen Studio, our communication language is English. Another department like customer support or logistics or finance, their language will be in Japanese, for example. And for everything that's global within the company, it will be shared in both languages every time. And the environment, really flexible, very open. Not what you'd expect in Japan, I think. People maybe have this preconception of all these Japanese offices have super gray, depressing, and have these very, the lights that are like super bright. We have a bright office. We have a lot of natural light coming in. We have a rest space. I mean, people can't see around, but there's like a ping pong table. There's a foosball table.
Foosball table,
a sofa,
darts.
lots of bean bags.
Yeah,
There's a whole room full of bean bags.
Tons of games behind you as well, like for game
for people
night.
to take breaks at lunch or
Great.
after work, and they want to kind of enjoy the
You're
space.
like Google. You're like Google for marketers. Do you guys ever like go and play Quidditch?
Not yet. That could be something
Next
to
one.
suggest. We'll suggest to do Quidditch. I think I've seen people play Quidditch on the riverbanks of
Get out of here,
Yokogawa.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They were running around with the brooms between the legs.
Oh my god.
That's awesome.
It's a thing. It's happening.
Yeah, also, like, you don't have a work attire thing. Like, everyone here was just, like, wearing casual
It was
clothes,
chill.
which
Yeah.
are pretty happy. There were, like, those hanging baskets, resting areas, like, in your office, tea and stuff. So it's really chill.
Very 21st century.
Of course, people that work maybe like in a more sales department with outside clients and have to do meetings, they will wear a suit. But even then, it's not like suit and tie. It's more just like, okay, wear a shirt, wear dress pants. But we don't have, as long as it's respectful towards the people around. And this is kind of what's important to understand. Because it's so international, we have people from different cultural backgrounds, different religious backgrounds. So as long as we are dressing respectfully and behaving respectfully with everyone, there's no kind of clear guidelines of you need to act like this, you need to address people this way, you need to behave like that. Which is
sounds
very
like a
cool.
fun
Relaxing.
place,
The most
yeah.
relaxed Japanese company in history.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
there's still a lot of work to be done.
Well, look, we can say that about all things, can't we?
Yeah.
You know? Work in progress.
What I was meaning by work to be done, I meant like it's very relaxing, but we still have to do the work.
Oh, I see.
okay.
I thought you were saying the company must strive to improve.
The company is always striving to improve, but I was referring specifically, we still need to work. We can't just sit in the beanbags all day long, right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You could.
I could.
You
for
could.
long.
Why don't you go and do some negotiation with your boss when you pitch sitting in a beanbag all day?
Sala-san, if you're listening to this, I would like a laptop so I can work from the beanbag.
Hey. So, coming back to Unpacking Japan, how did that start? How is that going right now? You had a different name at the start?
Yeah, so this podcast, Unpacking Japan, originally called Fish and Rice Stories from Japan.
This is what the mugs that we're having in the studio right now have
The
a
legacy
symbol of
logo.
fish and rice.
Basically a project that was started by Andrew and myself. So Andrew is kind of the producer of the Unpacking Japan podcast, or the podcast that we are doing at the moment. He used to be on camera in a very early episode. So for those of you that scroll back to our YouTube, you'll see him. We wanted to do a podcast because back then I was still working for Zen Pop, and I was thinking, let's do a podcast talking about Japanese food. Maybe we build a little community around it. Turns out that when the idea was pitched to our CEOs, they loved the idea of doing a podcast, but wanted something more general. So we didn't talk just about food. It was just more about, let's do it for like foreigners living in Japan or foreigners interested in living in Japan and kind of share information. So it was just Andrew and myself talking to each other. The first 6 episodes. What's it like in a Japanese supermarket? That was the first episode we ever recorded. Because once we got the green light, we had 2 options. Either we think and we brainstorm and we have meetings and we just discuss for ages what we do, or we just set up the beanbags and we sit in those and we just start recording. And that's what we did. And the first thing that came to mind was, supermarkets. So we blabbered around for 20 minutes and it was horrible. And then we did that. We did that 5 more times with other topics and it was still bad. And so we quickly got feedback like, guys, you should maybe not just talk to each other. You should talk to someone who's more knowledgeable about something than you two are. Which was
Sounds a little bit rude when you put it like that.
Harsh.
but
The internet's harsh.
it was not phrased like that, but it was a good point.
Okay.
And so we had our first guest, Charlie. Charlie's upstairs or down in the other room. Still working here, who was kind enough to volunteer to be our first guest, coworker who back then was working in our HR department, recruiting. So we talked about hiring in Japan, and suddenly it became more interesting to talk with someone who's really knowledgeable about something, and to kind of get that experience. And from there on, we started doing only interviews. And so we interviewed colleagues, we interviewed friends and friends of friends, and eventually, we kept on going. And one thing that Andrew really emphasized at the beginning when we started the podcast is we need to do this for at least 2 years to see where it goes, and we need to do this consistently every week. Yeah. So since we started, we've been posting 1 episode per week every Saturday morning, Japan time. And we haven't missed a week.
Congratulations.
And so after doing this for 6 months, the companies and the CEO saw, we're putting effort in this, and they kind of supported us to keep growing it. So the podcast was rebranded from Fish and Rice to Unpacking Japan to have a maybe more Japan-sounding name or kind of association with Japan. And we started interviewing a lot of really cool foreigners living here in Japan.
How do you find these foreigners?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it just any foreigner? You see a foreigner on the street, and you like lasso him, and you're like, sit down, tell me who you are.
No.
Okay.
Not any
You could try that.
Not
We
anymore?
could try another strategy. Not anymore.
Not any foreigner.
Oh, okay.
Any foreigner.
First of all, I think the important thing, because we do this in English, there needs to be a certain level of English language. But we don't want to be, it's very easy to quickly go into we just have English speakers on the podcast, which makes for smooth conversations, but very limiting kind of field of who we can interview. So we have to find a balance. But the most important is people want to come on a podcast and want to share a story on a podcast, and then kind of a sort of good enough level of English to hold a 1 hour conversation and share their stories. And so how do we find them? To answer that question, originally through just contacts that we had, contact friends of friends of friends, and then Twitter was a place where we just started looking, and there's a pretty big community of foreigners living in Japan on Twitter. And the more you look, the more you find people that do really, really unique and really, really cool things. We had people that do work in the knife industry, people that do comedy, people that do work with sustainable development, people that do hunting and farming, people that do politics. So started messaging people on Twitter, and we started getting the first few guests. And I think getting the first few ones was the most difficult because the podcast was new. And you get an invitation, you come on a podcast that just has like 10 episodes that look not that good. You're like, do I want to put myself on there? And thankfully, those early guests were brave enough to sit down with us and agree to kind of talk and share their experiences. And from there on, we started inviting more and more people. And then people started messaging us, can I come on a podcast? And usually we have a quick chat with them to see if they're a good fit, if they want to talk about something they're really interested in, or sometimes it sounds more like they just want to do self-promotion, which is not necessarily what we're always after. We want to share stories of people living in Japan, and that's kind of the most important for us.
All right. That's a whole journey. I was just literally thinking, I think you tried to contact us via our email, and our email is actually not full or not connected or something, so we probably need to work on that.
Yeah.
There's a little, since we said email and contacting people.
Actually, I contacted you at the early stages of the podcast.
Oh, really? And it just didn't get through?
No, we did exchange on Twitter. But at that time, we were saying that you were taking a little break.
That was probably the last.
Oh, yeah. It would have been the
director. Yeah, all right.
So we had a quick chat on with whomever that was, and you guys were taking like a break. You were busy with other things, so we couldn't make it happen. And then we circled back now 1 year later.
And it worked out. I'm glad it worked out. We have this
out.
wonderful office here. So you started with a career in hospitality when we came here. Your hospitality was spot on. We'd been made feel very welcome.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I'm happy you
have
feel
a lot
that
of
way.
tea in this office, which has been lovely. I've tried 3 new types of tea today. It's been great. Assam. I didn't know what that was till today.
Oh. So what is like a good interaction you had with any of your guests, maybe in front or behind the camera?
I think behind the camera we have a lot. On the camera, it's always, we focus on, we want to do an interview. We want to try to bring out the most interesting story and make the person feel comfortable. But the cameras turn on, and then some people change a little bit, including myself.
Including myself.
But some guests really open up then too. And sometimes they get emotional. And sometimes they start self-reflecting on their own journey. And that's kind of very interesting to see them reevaluate some of the stages they went through from living in Japan, because every single person that moves here has their own journey and faces their own challenges. And how we deal with them, how we process them is unique to each of us. And some of the guests have opened up and kind of gotten emotional. And I think that was touching moments as well on the podcast. When it comes to interactions with guests, also behind the scenes, it's really, really different. Some people have very little time, but they want to come on a podcast. So they come in, we record, they come out. Sometimes we have more time and we were able to go out for dinner with some guests and kind of talk more, not only the interview part, but just with the person. And that was also kind of very heartwarming. And it's nice to see all those people and, connect with other people that share similar experiences here in Japan.
How do you enjoy the role of being an interviewer?
I learn a lot. I think I learn a lot about myself. I think I'm still very shy when the camera turns on. I turn into the role of the interviewer. So I try to ask the right questions at the right time and to phrase things properly. And sometimes it's not the case, right? Sometimes my sentence or my question will just keep getting longer and longer. And then, like when we were talking earlier, was that a question you asked me when I was just, and I was like, well, no, I don't know what I was saying. Right? So it's difficult, but I'm learning a lot, and I get to meet and talk with a lot of interesting people. But it's not always easy because every single person will come and bring a different character to the table. You brought a lot of energy today, and you had you were very natural with sharing your stories and kind of going into it, and so I was kind of just letting you talk. Sometimes you have people that will make very short sentences, and you have to try to get them to open up, feel more comfortable, and it's more difficult, especially when English is not their native language. But being an interviewer is kind of an interesting... I think I haven't really defined the role for myself yet, and what the audience that is listening to our podcast Unpacking Japan really gets out of it yet.
It is a skill set unto itself, in my opinion. Like for you and me, we're used to being, talents on stage or on camera or whatever. But then when you're the interviewer, the focus is shifted to somebody else. Yeah. And it's a totally different skill set.
Totally different.
Do you have any what it's like to do the podcast and interview other people, kind of things to reflect on?
I've been already interviewing people for 9 years on Japanese.
Of course, so you've been doing it already. So
that was kind of like, I think having someone actually sit down in a studio and wanting to talk with you is a massive advantage to hundreds of people that don't want to talk to you and trying to get them into talking with you if you head out on the street. So that's like a little bit harder.
What's interesting is when people want to talk to you and come in the studio to talk to you but have no experience in doing so, and suddenly you sit in front of a microphone and you hold it and you point it at your mouth and you have 3 cameras pointing at you, and it's like, oh, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just being shocked or like deer in headlights kind of experience.
Deer in those headlights.
What advice would you give someone who wants to start a podcast? Because right now there's so many podcasts out there. What advice would you give?
I would say the first thing is know why you want to do the podcast. If you want to do podcast just for fun because you want to play with, sound engineering, and you want to talk about something, whether it's yourself or share a story or interview people, just go and do it and try and experiment and don't really think too much about it. For us, we started the podcast as part of a side project for the company we work for. And so there were some kind of expectations of, okay, we want to deliver a kind of quality product from the start and really build this up and improve this quickly. And we are very lucky to have the company support this project and kind of provide us with the space to shoot like we have now, and the equipment and a team that can help to shoot and edit and record. But when you look on the podcast landscape out there now, you have some podcasts that have like 50 people working on the production.
Wow.
Right? 30 people working on the production of a podcast or more. And that's very like intimidating. And sometimes you see people, like you go on Reddit, there's a subreddit for podcasting. I went there a few times to just see what people talk about. And they have these high expectations, like, oh, I want to get started, I want to put the videos, and I want to do this, I want to have X amount of viewers or subscribers or listeners, and then they get quickly discouraged. And I think there's statistics about 80% of podcasts stop after 3 episodes or something like that.
Yes, they do. I think there was something like that.
We spoke about that. I think it's 90% of podcasts don't get
make
past
it to
episode
10.
And then out of those ones that do, another 90% don't make it to 100.
So like if you want to do this just for yourself, just go and do it.
Just do it, exactly.
And if you want to do this professionally, probably... I don't know if starting it on your own is the right way to do it, but it might be more interesting to go for a media production company, a radio show that wants to produce a podcast, and kind of pitch that idea and see if they want to support you to do that. Because going pro in podcasting and getting paid for doing that and having the equipment and so on, it's a lot of effort and a lot of time, and by yourself it's going to be very hard to do that.
And most people as well, not necessarily most, but I think a lot of people also just don't understand the business model of it and why anyone would ever pay you for your podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you don't, generally speaking, people don't purchase your streams. So it's advertisers who pay you to advertise their product. And so I think a lot of people start up and they don't consider any of this. They say, I want to be a professional podcaster. They don't consider, well, why would any company want to give me money to advertise their product on my show?
Exactly. And so we are lucky in that sense that we are producing this podcast kind of relatively freely for the company.
Yes.
So we have the financial support of the company to do that, and we don't necessarily need to get advertisers. In a way, we are self-advertising the company we work for.
That's a
but that allows us to do this and to allocate resources and time and equipment and people to the production of this podcast. Without this, it would not be possible to do that on our free time.
And have awesome guests.
Yeah,
well, that's right. Do you know what else I think? I think one of the big reasons most podcasts don't get past episode 3 is because everyone goes, I'm going to start a podcast. They get excited in episode 1. And they're like, that was great fun. Episode 2. And now they're like, now what? Like, they don't think, they haven't planned through to episode 10 or episode 100 or anything. They're just like, yeah, just get on there and talk, and then I've run out of things to talk about real quick.
That, and I think also it's the false raise of expectations. People think just because you put out 1 or 2 videos, you're gonna get
you're a superstar
thousands of views. People are, you don't get viral with these podcasts. Nowadays, there's so many.
Not anymore. No.
Yeah, you can't just go viral with just making a podcast anymore. So you have to put in the grind.
Big time. Like everything else, like all the other show business stuff we do.
You guys passed the 100th episode not too long ago. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We will be there hopefully sometime soon.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah, you're on 90-something, yeah?
We recorded, as of today, episode 92 with
Congratulations.
you guys. 91 and 92.
Well, you'll make it to 100 then, so congratulations.
We're pretty close.
You're in the top 1%, I think the top 1% of podcasters. Top 10%, top 10.
Once you make it to episode 100, you'll definitely be there.
It's very hard. 100 episodes of a show is very hard.
That is
so
a
congratulations.
rough one.
Thank you.
It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of bringing people in. It's a lot of organization.
On that note, dear listeners, thank you for all of that support. All of these
Bless you.
episodes. There's so much here to draw from, and I'm glad you're here with us.
I'm grateful that you're interested in listening to us talk all this nonsense all day. Mainly me. Cathy Cat actually does the work. Ladybeard just provides ridiculous commentary in the background.
But it wouldn't be Cat with Beard from Japan without this kind of element of balance. And in and out and happy and up and down and energies and whoa. It wouldn't be the same.
It would not be the same.
Exactly.
Very grateful to all of you for joining us.
Yes.
And grateful for you for coming in today.
Thank you
bro.
so much.
Great
It's
to
a real
see you, Tobi.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun to kind of be on the other side. A little bit intimidating too, to kind of open up and talk about the things that you're not used to talk about.
It's good. Your world has expanded.
Yeah, a little bit more today.
Good. Tell the people where you are on the internet.
You can find us at Unpacking Japan on Instagram, on YouTube, and on all kind of podcasting platforms that you are listening to, as well as some other social media like TikTok.
And shop at Zen Market.
Or Zen Pop.
Stationery in abundance. That's what you find there.
Now you managed to wrap this episode up as if it was heavily sponsored. That's why I was like,
They're in their studio.
Yep. We're here. Things are borderless behind us. Not sure if you can read that, actually. It says borderless behind us.
It does say borderless.
All right, well.
That was the best ending ever.
Thank you, guys.
We mungled that, didn't we?
Let's do that.
That's horrendous. You take us in.
Thank you so much for watching Cat with Beard from Japan and listening in Unpacking Japan. And we see you soon with another episode of Cat with Beard.
Oh, sucker!
Ooh,
Thank you.
au revoir.